How do you run 7 marathons on 7 continents in just 7 days and still have the drive to lead a movement that's transforming the future of work in the Philippines? Today's episode is more than just the story of Mench Dizon's epic World Marathon Challenge. It's about resilience, purpose, and the belief that how you do one thing is how you do everything. Hello and welcome to Season 10 of the Womenpreneur Asia podcast, and I'm your host, Krista Gun. My mission is to uncover the stories and strategies of Asian women entrepreneurs to inspire and guide you on your own entrepreneurial journey. This episode is brought to you by Redbox Studio. I'm also excited to announce I have a virtual program all about creating visibility for yourself, called From Vision to Voice. Applications have closed for this cohort, but you're welcome to check out the program details and get on our waitlist for the next cohort. The program is immersive and live, and it's one that I co-teach with my friend Rowena. Our aim is to coach women who would like to create more opportunities for themselves by getting more visible. Visit womenpreneurasia.com for more information. Now, today's episode features Mench Dizon, marathoner, changemaker, and country head of YGG Pilipinas, an organization reshaping work opportunities for Filipinos. From braving minus 25-degree temperatures in Antarctica to running under tropical heat in Africa, Mench's journey in the World Marathon Challenge was not only a feat of physical endurance but also a profound lesson in perseverance and adaptability. In our conversation, Mench opens up about what it takes to weather life's literal and metaphorical climates, how she's shaping the conversation about Filipinos and work through gaming and technology, and why she believes in seizing opportunities before feeling 100% ready. If you've ever faced a challenge that seemed impossible or wondered what could happen if you dared to push your limits, this episode will inspire you to take that first step. Hello and welcome, Mench, to Womenpreneur Asia.
Thanks for having me, Krista. I'm happy to be here.
So, Mench, where are you today?
I'm currently in Singapore.
Before we even get started, I must congratulate you for your amazing accomplishment. You completed the World Marathon Challenge this year. 7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days.
Yeah.
I mean, even saying that,
Yeah.
is I can't even imagine, right? It's not only 7 marathons, it's 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. You're the first Filipina in history to conquer both, I think, the World Marathon Challenge and the World Marathon Majors, right?
That's right.
And
Yes.
over the course of 168 hours. So correct me if I'm wrong, you ran consecutive 42.2 kilometer races in Antarctica, Africa, Australia, Asia, Europe, and South America, and North America. And you crossed the final finish line in Miami on February 6, 2025. So, Mench, even saying this gives me goosebumps, right? So relive that moment. What do you feel when you cross that finishing line?
So the World Marathon Challenge is the most epic adventure I've ever done, and also the most difficult. I didn't realize I had the capacity to really weather that kind of challenge, because it is a race that would take you from negative 25 temperature all the way to as high as maybe 30 degrees and up. So that alone is quite daunting, and to be doing that on a daily basis for 7 days was quite scary at the start. But I think it happened at the right time for me, because this was always been a dream of mine. I first discovered the World Marathon Challenge back in 2015. So that's a good decade ago. And it's always been on my mind, right? So I every year, I think I ask if they do have a slot, and they always do. It's just a matter of my personal readiness. And I say it's the right time for something like this to happen, because I'm a more mature person who's also has gone through life's up and downs, which really gave me that maturity to carry through with patience, and determination, something of this magnitude. So it was adventurous. It was an epic journey that started in Antarctica. And when I finally crossed the finish line in Miami, it felt like it was a fruition, no, of all the running that I've been doing, but also the practices that I've been taking on, no, over the course of the last maybe couple of decades of my career, of my personal life, of my running journey.
How did it make you feel at that finishing line? Like, did you feel like, wow, finally? Or is that, yay, let's go for another one?
Definitely not to go for another one. My husband and I, because he ran the last loop with me, that's a 10-kilometer loop, to just finish the entire race, was joking. And he told me, it's a good thing there are only 7 continents because otherwise there would be another one the next day. But you realize the body is really strong, no? And it can expand itself and its capacity with the challenge that's up ahead. So I was surprised myself. So when I crossed, it was a sense of relief that finally it's done. It was a sense of accomplishment. But you know what was quite surprising for me was that I felt that there's more work to be done after this challenge. And the work that I'm talking about is the work that I do, no, for YGG Pilipinas, where we are on a mission to uplift and help more Filipinos so that we provide by providing them as much opportunities back home, so they don't have to feel, no, that they need to travel elsewhere to get the work opportunity. And for me, as I crossed the finish line, what I felt was, there's work that needs to be done. After this race, I'll take everything that I learned, the difficult challenges that I've learned along the way, I've learned from along the way, to really use this, no, as my entry point in taking on the difficult challenges that comes from a big mission for the work that we do.
Wow. I mean, just listening to that, right? I mean, I can understand that. I'm sure your husband's thinking, oh, luckily there's only 7 continents, but there's no 8 continent, right? Otherwise you'd be going on and on forever. But I also know that you ran this race to raise funds. And that really ties in with your work with YGG Pilipinas, right?
It very much ties into YGG Pilipinas because, as I mentioned, the mission is about creating opportunities, providing ways for people to really discover the skills and develop the skills. And the charity that I chose is this school called Sisters of Mary School. And it's an interesting school because it's a boarding school. So when you think of boarding schools, you'd think, okay, it's some posh school, right? But actually, it's a boarding school of all scholars from all provinces in the Philippines. So these are the smartest kids, no, from these provinces. But obviously, because of a lack of resources, they aren't able to go to school. And so the Sisters of Mary School is taking on this mission of providing these brilliant students with opportunities to learn. So it's high school. But in high school, they're already taught vocational skills because most likely these kids won't be able to go to college. So they'd like them to be equipped with skills that they could immediately use so they could get or take on jobs and fund the next sibling, who needs funding for their education. So that's the charity I chose. I primarily chose it because it's an education-focused charity. And I was a scholar growing up. It was always hard for our family to afford education. And when I was given the chance to be a full scholar at one of the most prestigious universities in the Philippines, I really felt that I needed to take it on. I felt that it was a turning point in my life. And because I was given this opportunity to shift the trajectory of my life, I feel that it's my responsibility as a human being to also do the same thing. No? And when this opportunity to choose a charity came along, it was automatic, something on education. But why it became more meaningful is that we also support these kids in the work that I do in Metaversity, providing them with skills in Web3, blockchain, AI, game development, so that these are vocational skills that they could use to take on online work so they could help the rest of their families.
Oh, that's really interesting because you're really paying it forward, right?
Yeah, there's no other way really than to just pay it forward in the same manner and the same gift that I was given.
And let's come back to the marathon a little bit, because I wanted to ask you, was there ever a moment during the running, right, the racing, where you thought, this is too much?
Every single time.
And how did you talk yourself out of this is too much, even as you're running it?
Yeah, because just thinking about it, like makes you feel tired already. So
I can imagine.
The way I really got out of that rut is to just chunk it up into sizable pieces, like bite sizes, right? So especially when it started to feel really taxing. This happened to me maybe in Madrid, which was like the halfway point. That's when I realized there's a whole spectrum of fatigue. There's not just one kind of fatigue, it's a spectrum. And at different points of this race, I was feeling like different parts of that spectrum. But the way I was talking myself out of it is, I guess, not even talking myself out of it, it's accepting that it really is part of that process, no? And this is what I exactly signed up for. And just getting by a step at a time. It's such a cliche, but it's really what you can do at the moment, no? Just take that next step and then the next again, and then maybe think about the next kilometer. So you kind of just have to create, no, that sizable practice that you can manage at any given moment. And that really helps a lot. What I also tell myself is this is much larger than myself, not because I've spread the word about it, but because there is a much larger mission, no, around this journey. And it actually is just a symbolical adventure or story or experience that I could take on, no, to create more opportunities for growth, not just for myself, but for the rest of my team, and also the mission that we're doing.
And how do you prepare for such a grueling race? As a non-runner, I am just amazed, right? I mean, honestly, I'm really amazed. I mean, running one marathon, it's not an easy task. And imagine you have to prepare for this, and your body goes through so many different climates, right? You have to go through like hot and cold, and you're traveling in the plane. You were telling me this. You were sleeping on the plane to get to your next destination.
There's no hotel.
There's no hotel, right? There's no hotel. But so the moment you land is the moment you get into it.
Start running. Yeah. So we were even preparing ourselves, wearing our running gear, maybe a couple of hours before landing. Everyone was just in a frantic state of just getting themselves sorted out, so that as we land, after we land, maybe in the next hour and a half or two, we would be running the next race.
So you don't even get a break. There's no break.
The break was the flight and the plane. So it's the first time I've ever heard myself say, I wish this were a longer flight, because the longer flight meant like rest time, right? Yeah. So how to prepare? Maybe because I've been running since 2008 and joining marathons, I have a good foundation in terms of just running practice. That's why I actually was a little bit surprised that my program for this race wasn't really that intense. It was really just more time on my feet. And I already knew how to do that. What was new for me, and with what I needed to really learn, is how to recover faster. And the recovery is actually as important as the racing. Because if you are not able to train your body to recover after a taxing marathon, then you would just suffer, and the suffer just compounds over the next few days, right? So the ability to recover from a previous fatigue field experience is something that I had to incorporate into my training as well. And the recovery comes from nutrition, from rest, from mindset, from the ability to sleep in these types of conditions, was something that I needed to learn. And also how to take care of myself when I feel these aches and pains of an older body, right? So and having that recovery protocol and practice incorporated into my training is very, very important. I can't emphasize it. As a younger person, I thought it was just really about the training. But now, as a more mature athlete, the recovery is as important as the training itself. And it goes in the way we work as well. No? This rest and recovery that comes with a sprint is very important. Apart from the physical stuff, I think the mind really needs to be ready for something like this. And I guess the way I was able to support my mind, no, as through prepare my mind through this race is really just to believe, no, that I did the right process getting to this before I even getting into this race. So that mindset that I was ready, that I did what the best I could to get to the starting point and to finish through is, I think, an important part of the training as well.
Did you work with a team?
The team is composed of a coach. I do have my running coach. I also have a physio. She's also an elite runner. So it's good to be with someone who understands the physique of a runner, the rigor of training, while applying pain to your body, right? So I do have a physio. I also have a personal trainer who helped me in terms of just developing a fitness program to strengthen my body, not just for the running, but also on the recovery. I was very surprised that with strength training, I was faster, no, in terms of recovery. So yeah, it takes a village to help an athlete. And of course, the biggest contributor and teammate is my husband and my kids, right? Without having a supportive family, I wouldn't be able to do something like this.
I think they must feel as accomplished as you too, because they're part of your team.
Yeah, and I think this has left an imprint on the minds of our kids in terms of just the importance of practice. The outcome will take care of itself. You don't have full control of that, but it's them seeing me maybe just show up day by day to my training despite me complaining about my aches and pains. I think that was a good lesson for them that they could take on.
So what I hear you say is also, I think of it in terms of like what you do in your running. It's not just the running, it's also the recovery. It's not the physicality of running, but it's also taking time to really recover so that you can be prepared for the next stage of running. And I think that also applies to business, right? I'm sure it is not just only about running. It's really the same rules apply in business as well. So now I want to ask you a little bit about your work with YGG Pilipinas, which is very interesting. When I first heard about it, I watched a video, I read about it, and I think that, yeah, this is something, well, new to me, but perhaps you can let us know what is it that you do as the country head of YGG Pilipinas?
Yeah, so maybe a bit of a background. So YGG was started by my husband and a couple of his co-founders during the pandemic. And it started as a guild, a guild of gamers. And it rose when this game called Axie Infinity started to take off in the country. It was the right time to take off because it was during the pandemic that a lot of people didn't have work, especially in the Philippines. So people lost their jobs. And so they were looking for ways to augment or at least like supplement their income. And so this game allowed Filipinos to play the game and exchange the rewards that they get out of a game into cash, right? Which was very much needed then. And so it started with just this one game, took off. Of course, the market has shifted already. But what that gave us are these like gaming communities. And these gaming communities we have expanded. So they're not just playing one game because we saw that it wasn't sustainable to just be playing one game, but now a spectrum of games. So now as country head of YGG Pilipinas, my role is to make sure that these communities that we initially established are constantly engaged engaged, are growing, and further developed. So it started with games. So we bring in our game partners. They are the community that provide the support, no, and are the audiences and users of these games. But then we started to also see that there are projects outside of games who wanted to partner with us, and these are partners on the AI, no, and beyond games. So we saw that what we really put together are community of people who can take on various kinds of tasks, and these tasks are what we refer to as quests, still around the notion of gaming, because we have constantly leaned into our love and expertise in games. So these quests are tasks that are now passed on to our community, and they do these tasks for the purpose of earning rewards that they could exchange for recognition in the community, and not just monetary, but also incentives beyond just the money that they get from making these tasks. No, so my role as country head is to constantly bring those opportunities back home and really bridging, no, the available talent that we have. And my role also includes upskilling, no, these communities, because it's one thing for us to organize them. They're already there. But what else can they do? With the direction of AI, with the direction of Web3, there's a lot of gaps there. There's still a lot of learning and knowledge that can be passed on. So we felt that we needed to put together a solid education program. So that's why we do have Metaversity. Metaversity is our university for the Metaverse Filipino worker, which is the movement that we are focused on to push this digital literacy and work for our community. So anyway, the Metaversity provides education, provides the skills that are needed so that these community members can now work on tasks and quests that we can bring in via our game partners. So my role as country head is really to make sure that there is that liquidity. There's always that highly engaged supply of talent, and also the demand, coming from outside, bringing in revenue into our country so that we get to share this bounty, across our community.
So, which is really interesting because in the past, it used to be the Filipino workers would go out of the country. And now with this technology, they don't have to, and they can stay where they are and make a good living. And I think one of the stories I saw was this young person, this guy, he built a family home, or
yes,
yes, a family home or something from this itself, right? So
yes.
I thought very fascinating without having to leave the Philippines.
And he now leads our community. He's our head of community, and it's a career that he wouldn't have envisioned for himself, coming from the province, coming from a totally different background. He just really started as a gamer, and usually if you're playing games, people, and even your family, your mom especially, would think that it's a waste of time, right?
Yeah.
But we see that when people are engaged, when people love what they're doing, when people are just enjoying themselves, there's energy there that can be harnessed. And I continue to believe that despite the market changes, despite the challenges of also being in this ever volatile and fluctuating space, that when you engage people from where they are and what they're interested in, they will really feel that this is something that they could do. Even as you ask them to do long hours. Of course, we don't do that to our team, but these guys can keep playing game. But how else can you harness that energy and provide them with work that they could do from their provinces, and work that matters to them?
And for you personally, Mench, what drew you to this? Of course, I know you mentioned that your husband started this, right? But what excites you about this entire movement that you're creating?
Yeah, it's so funny because when I first signed up for this role, I actually did not sign up for this role. First said yes. I was scared because I'm not a gamer. And then I'm not the most community-focused person. If left to my own devices, I'd be happy. I just having my quiet life, right? But I said yes primarily because I wanted to support my husband. But I think this has been the most rewarding career decision that I've ever made. I've always been someone who is in constant search for that intersection of passion and purpose. Got burned several times over when the work that I was doing wasn't successful. Also had some failed businesses and startups and projects here and there. And so I started to just think about, okay, what is my purpose for now? So it was really just for now. It doesn't have to be one main passion and purpose. I sort of like lost that belief, no? And so when I was faced with this invitation, I said, okay, maybe there's something here, at least for now, to get me interested. But it was the most interesting left field decision that I've ever made, because it sort of brought together all the experiences that I've had over my work life. So I started in insurance. So I was working with insurance agents, and the work that we work primarily with committee members, and these aren't employees, right? Just like insurance agents, you need to constantly engage them because they are their own enterprise. They're not employed by us. So there's that like loose organization that I learned from running an insurance marketing job and training and working with agents. And then I moved on to marketing for retail, and that entailed PR, events, just marketing and doing campaigns. And that's exactly what we're also doing for YGG Pilipinas. And then I moved on to startups, where basically you're just doing everything and making sure that the boat doesn't sink month to month, right? Dealing with revenue and really just running the business and thinking through the strategy and actions. So it really is like a coming together of everything that I've learned. But why it's also more meaningful is I get to work with a team who are also very passionate in terms of just harnessing the potential and the skills that the community has, so they could find the best version of themselves in the work that they can do, and they don't have to leave the Philippines, and they can choose to leave if they'd like to travel, right? But in terms of just forcing themselves to leave their families, leave their provinces, they don't have to do that, and they could find the meaningful work from where they are. So I think that is what drives me. That's why I think this is still, despite the left field source, it's still one of the wisest decisions I've ever done, at least for now.
But you're also at, in the right place at the right time, I would say, right? I mean, right now.
I always believe in timing. Timing.
The right timing.
Is always, it's very important.
Yeah, and do you also work with a young team?
Oh, it's a very young team, which I like because it keeps me
keeps you young
up to speed, keeps me young, and also like relevant to my kids, right? Because at least I can still not maybe talk to them in the same Gen Alpha slang, but at least like have a sense of what's happening in their world. And I think me and my husband we like that because it also allows us to understand our children and how we could evolve as parents in this changing world. And I like working with a young, energetic team. It's good to be surrounded by very intelligent, much smarter people than I am, but also has that energy, and just that passion to find themselves in the work that they're doing.
Have you ever imagined yourself doing metaversity? And
not really. But
AI.
I've always imagined myself working with a company or working on a project that is mission based. So I think that has always been a clear direction, a North Star, if you may, for me, that my time is very limited in this world. So it's good to just carry on with a sense of mission, no matter what that mission is, right? But for me, I think that is what adds a strong foundation and layer to this work that I'm doing.
I want to ask a little bit about your growing up years, Mench, because you referenced that earlier. And you talked about being a scholar and given the opportunity to study and to do things, that you wanted to do in your life. So could you take us back to where did Mench grow up? Which town or province?
I grew up north of Manila, so the capital of the Philippines is Metro Manila. But I grew up maybe 5-6 hours up north, so it's a city called Baguio. So I was born and raised there until high school. And I was always a good student growing up, so that was easy for my parents at least. What was hard was affording that education, and I actually didn't tell them that I applied for a scholarship because I knew that at the start I thought that my mom wouldn't allow me to study outside of our city, be by myself, be on my own, but at least we had some relatives in Manila. I only told her once I got accepted, and I went home with that acceptance letter for a full scholarship to the Ateneo. So I got full scholarship, I got allowance. So I told her there's absolutely no reason for me not to go, and I could stay with some relatives at least. That saves us some money for without having, I don't have to rent. So I really felt that I needed to take on that next phase in my life. As a young person, maybe as early as 12, I felt that there was something elsewhere, that there's something out there that I could take on. And it was always such a vague feeling, that the place where I was at wasn't where I would find that largeness, right? Even if it was a city, I felt that there was something out there for me to discover. I always had that curiosity for what's out there, and I think perpetually, I have that curiosity. So when I went to school, I was 16, when I first left our home in Baguio, went to university, and was very insecure because it was where the wealthiest people in our country went to school. So imagine someone from the province. I think I was the only one from my school who decided to go to this university. I was surrounded by people who grew up wealthy, who spoke straight English. I was always very insecure about my communication skills. So I felt small, in this very large pond. But eventually I found my footing. It took maybe a couple of years, but with the right friendships, with the right organizations, I think I finally found my footing. And I think it was the definitive decision that really got me to where I am at this moment. And of course, I wouldn't have met my husband otherwise, right? But more than that the shift of my life's trajectory wouldn't have been possible without that opportunity. So I feel very strongly about that. And that's the reason why I think a big part of our mission is helping scholars, helping kids to develop themselves and have this opportunity to gain an education that will be with them throughout their lifetime.
Find it very interesting that you said at 12 you had this idea that perhaps Baguio was a little too small for you, that you needed to get out there and see what else is out there in the world. Were you inspired by something or someone, or something someone said?
I don't remember anymore. I don't recall any particular person or moment. It was just a sense, that okay, there's something out there and it's waiting for me to discover. And wherever that is, at least this first step to taking on this challenge of studying in a very prestigious school, which obviously is an opportunity and a privilege that wouldn't have been made available to me if not for this scholarship.
And it also took courage.
Yes, yes. And I think I always lean into that courage and remember, no, that courage every time I take on these challenges that I've been doing over the past few years.
Yeah, be it leaning into your marathons or leaning into being the country head for YGG Pilipinas, right? I mean, I guess every part of it is about leaning into something and taking that
Yeah.
courage with you.
Yeah, yeah.
And in your own way of looking back into your life, is there any advice that you will give to young people right now about courage, about leaning in? Since you've gone to so many different paths, right? Working in the insurance industry, retail, PR, marketing, and now doing this metaversity and all that's related to the movement of metaverse Filipino workers.
I guess an advice that I also still keep reminding myself is just to follow that curiosity. Because if you're curious enough about something, that means you're interested and that you're willing to understand it better. You take on maybe the needed skills or knowledge that will satisfy that curiosity. And it's really just following that nose. No? It is an indicator that there is something there that might be interesting or might click somehow with you. And I was always like worried that I was like just dabbling, no, across these many different things. But it was also in that dabbling that I discovered what sticks and what I was really interested in. And it was also in that dabbling that also gave me a unique experience, right? It's not a linear experience that people go through, but it makes my experience unique and different, right? And sometimes you need to be able to really create that unique experience so that it gives you a different definition, right? And it makes you, if you may, stand out, right? Because okay, I'm this person, I had varied experiences, and now this is who I am, or this is what I'm doing now, right? So just follow that curiosity. It might seem that you're just wasting your time sometimes, and people will tell you that, but to just follow that nose. And once you find something that you're really very curious and interested about, is to really lean into it, and even take yourself to a notch higher, sign up for things or commit to something before you feel that you're ready. What do I mean by that? Because when we're trying new things, we feel that we don't have enough skills, we don't have enough knowledge. It's always from a sense of scarcity, that there's something lacking. But when we come from a sense that, okay, this is not something I know, but I can figure it out, I'm just going to sign up for it, and then let's figure it out along the way. It gives you that confidence that you can learn things, you can figure things out as you move along. It doesn't have to be fully clear or apparent, no, once you decide to sign up. So just sign up, just decide to commit to something, even if you feel that you aren't ready, because we will never be fully ready for the stuff that we need to do. We will just have to figure it out along the way. And this is a lesson that I teach my kids as well. So when they're stuck and can't figure out something, we just allow them, no, to just plod along and figure it out themselves along the way.
How do you make those decisions? I know you mentioned you sign up before you're ready.
At least for me, it's an introspection of what are the things that truly matter. What are my most important values? What are my non-negotiables? What are the things that I hold dear in my heart, no? And I truly value. And whenever I'm faced with a decision, I would always filter it through those set values, and it varies from person to person. It's always filtering it against those values. And for me, for instance, what is important for me is my personal agency, having that freedom to be where I want to be, to work on projects I would like to work on, how to spend my time, who to spend it with, right? I value my family more than anything. If my kid suddenly gets sick, I would say I would cancel everything. So it's really understanding what are the most important things in my life and always using those as the scale by which I make my decisions. And if faced with two, I guess, decisions that are both true, right? It's choosing what will be better for me and my family or my team in the long term. So, especially in business, right? We're always faced with decisions that are conflicting, that will give you immediate results, but will compromise something in the long term. I would rather fail on the short term, at least not optimize for the short term, but really think through how this will play out across the consequences over a longer timeline. And I try my best to decide based on first principles and really looking at like layered consequences. And I guess this ties into looking at it from a longer horizon. I guess those are my key principles in terms of decision making.
And for women who are holding back, for instance, because there are so many women that I talk to, and many of them sometimes feel unsure about going for something impossible. Let's call it impossible. What would you say to them?
I think the same thing I tell myself: just sign up. Just say yes before you're even ready, because you will get yourself to a ready state. You will be forced to figure things out. Your body, your mind, your whole being will collaborate, to get yourself to at least a state of readiness. Of course, you need to be able to put in the daily practice, the everyday work, even as things are hard. Yeah, to just really sign up before you're ready. It's scary, but every time I feel nervous, I just try to remind myself that the feeling of being scared is also the feeling of being excited. And so just kind of tricking oneself, right? That I'm scared, but I'm also excited. It's the same feeling. Yeah.
And coming back to your work, what do you wish more young Filipinas knew or believed about their potential in tech or gaming or even innovation?
The young people should believe that they have the capacity. And actually, not just the young people, everyone, young, old alike, should believe that they have something in them that can really provide them this immense capacity to take on learning, challenges, and really that they have that capacity and strength to take on difficult things. We all have that in us. Maybe it's just more obvious in others, or it comes earlier to other people, but we all have that capacity to better ourselves, to make ourselves into individual that we thought we would never become.
And who inspires you for now?
Yeah, my husband inspires me, but please don't tell him that.
He will hear that in this podcast.
No, because he remains to be a steadfast person despite the chaotic world and industry where we operate. He's steady, he's very thoughtful. He has helped me in terms of just thinking through and making very good decisions. He's very supportive as a husband, as a father. He's also still playful as a kid, right? So I think having that the person who I'm gonna grow old with, but remains to be a young person at heart, is very, very good for my health and heart as well. So I'm constantly inspired by him, and as an entrepreneur as well. And because we work closely with each other for this business and this mission, I get to have front row seats, to having him also, seeing him, go through his decisions, the struggles that comes with that. I have the unique experience, of experiencing that.
For someone who's listening to our conversation today and they want to work with YGG Pilipinas, what can they do? Or how can they work with your group and your team and your community?
Yeah, so we do have several ways that's available to partner with us or to work with us. First is we have Metaversity. So Metaversities are, as I mentioned, our education program. That's where you can find crash courses in various topics. That's available for free for just a few hours to get you started. And then Metaversity also has an in-depth 8-week course. And we do that, I think, 2 cohorts this year. The first one has started, and then the next one will be towards the latter half of the year. So that's one. The second way is for you to participate in our social channels. We are across all social media. So that's Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Discord. Our community is particularly quite active in Discord, but because we'd like to invite more non-gamers, the social channels are available. You can find us at YGG Pilipinas across those different channels. The third is we do have our Metaverse Filipino Worker Caravan. So we have that twice this year. And so we go around the provinces to bring our offerings, our programs closer to our community members. And then we do have our big summit now, which we've been doing every year for the last 3 years. So YGG Play Summit. So that's happening end of the year. So it's just a coming together of games, of AI, of our community members, where it's a big celebration, but also it's a time to learn more from the industry experts that we bring into the country. So those are ways to participate. And we do have our online events as well that happens weekly. You can find that in our socials, where we just get our community to come together, play together, and sometimes learn together. We do have some mentors and experts that we invite to provide some knowledge and learnings to our community members.
Is it open to all, or is it only for the Filipinos?
No, it's open. Yeah, of course, we have our global YGG that spans across different territories. My husband leads that YGG Global. They also do have their respect programs, but in the Philippines, we're quite welcoming of anyone who'd like to participate in our initiatives.
So that's great. So at least they know how they can join whatever that fits their needs at the moment. They can go to Metaversity, they can join your caravan, and all those cool stuff that you're doing online. So now that the marathon challenge is over, what's next for you professionally and personally?
What's next for me is, as I mentioned, it really is just following through on the work that we started on. And the biggest thing that I got out of the World Marathon Challenge is that I have this immense capacity to take on difficult things. And so I tell my team there's no excuse not to do stuff now, because if you tell me it's impossible, I would tell you no. We'll find out.
It impossible, right?
We'll figure out how to do things, but we're gonna try and get there somehow. I have covered this confidence that I could take on hard things and how to really apply this in the work that we're doing. So that's on the professional side. On the personal side, I have signed up for a couple of races, one of which is a race that will have me run alongside my son. So that's exciting. That's why I am training to be faster again. I have been a slow runner for quite some time. But because I am running alongside someone with longer legs and fresher lungs, I want to be able to run next to him. So we're running the Singapore half marathon together in December. And on a personal trip, I'm also going to run the Mount Fuji Marathon. I've always wanted to do that. I will start training for that as well. I've also signed up for something new out of curiosity. I'm doing a solo high rocks in Singapore.
That's a lot. You've got a complete full schedule for the year.
Yeah, the race calendar is complete. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Maybe I'm just so used to having a goal, right?
Yeah. Running the Mount Fuji race, is that different from your world marathon?
It's different in a way that it's just, of course, a solo marathon, right? And it could go both ways. I could just relax and take on the scene, or go the other extreme, make it into an A race where I'm going to use it to qualify for to have a Boston qualifier. So I'm still like in the middle of deciding which path I'd like to take on, no, for this, but I still have time, yeah, for deciding whether I want it the chill way or the intense way.
Very interesting. Your life is you've not stopped. You're putting even more into both your work and as well your racing life. So you're a very interesting individual, Mench. I mean, honestly, I've interviewed a lot of women on my podcast, but none of them are as intense as you. I must say that. In a good way. Intense in a good way.
Yeah. I actually think I'm a chill person, but maybe like outside looking, you guys looking at me feel that it's intense, but yeah, I think I'm a quite laid back person.
Perhaps you're taking that also, like you have a rest period and you have the sprint period, right? So when you rest, you rest, I guess. You're chill. But when you run, you're really intense.
Yeah, and maybe because I enjoy it, right? It doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like a slug, right? Because I chose to do it. I think that's what makes it different, right? Versus like thinking about it as a chore or something that I have to do. I always think that I get to do this, right? That's why it's special. I choose to do it. I get to do this, right? Such a privilege.
And the way you tell it to yourself, I think that is the most meaningful part of it, because when you choose to do it, you choose to do it with full heart and soul.
Yeah, I always believe in wholeheartedness whenever I do something. And I like how I am in one thing is actually how I am in the other things. So that wholeheartedness as applied to across the different aspects of my life is how I choose to live.
And finally, Mench, where can people find you if they want to connect with you personally and learn more about you and your work?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn as Mench Dizon. I do have some socials, but I'm more private that way on the social side of things. But yeah, LinkedIn is there. YGG Pilipinas is there. So feel free to reach out across those channels. And I hope that you get to participate in your own way in the programs that we're doing with Metaversity across our socials in YGG Pilipinas.
Yes, so connect with Mench, have fun learning all about her work and her business. And yeah, even if you're not a Filipino, even if you're not Filipino, right? So not just primarily for that. So thank you so much, Mench. I really enjoyed our conversation today. You wanted to cover everything from your marathons to your work and, touch a little on everything so that people know what you're doing and as well as how they can come forward to support you and be part of MFW.
Well, thank you for having me, Krista. This has been a great conversation, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to share my story. And I hope that I was able to share some nuggets of insight, at least based on the experiences that I went through, especially with this most recent one, the World Marathon Challenge.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that an Asian woman did it. So thank
Crazy
you.
Asian.
What was your key takeaway from my conversation with Mench? I loved her take that the mindset you bring to one challenge is the mindset you bring to all of them. Whether it's running across 7 continents in 7 days or leading an initiative that's transforming Filipino talent and workforce in tech, Mench shows that it can be done through belief and courage. She and her team believe that Filipinos don't always have to work overseas to enjoy and improve quality of life. What about creating digital opportunities for Filipinos so that they can live and work in their own country? Now, her story reminds us that readiness is often the result of actions, not the prerequisite for it. By leaning into discomfort, embracing the unknown, and trusting herself to rise to the occasion, Mench has not only achieved remarkable personal feats, but also created lasting impact in the professional world. So here's my question for you. What challenge could you take on today that will stretch your limits and reveal what you're truly capable of? If you are new to this podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest episodes. For my returning visitors, please do me a favor. Please rate and review this podcast on your preferred app. Your feedback greatly helps others find and enjoy a show, and I'll see you in the next episode next week.